Well, hello, Quest. It's good to see you doing our video newsletter for this week. It's been a couple of weeks since we did one, mainly because I was gone to California last week for the weekend. Diane and I went out for a wedding of the son of some of our best friends who live out there. And when you're the friends of the groom's parents, you end up being able to help. And so really it was 4 days of just jumping in and helping and kind of working through it. It was fun. It was great. But it's really nice to be back. And coming back just reminds me what a great sports city St. Louis is. When you're in Los Angeles, there's a lot of sports to be watched. There are the Angels and the Dodgers in baseball. There's the Kings and the Ducks in hockey. But then they have the Los Angeles Lakers, and they have the Clippers, and then they have all sorts of college teams. There's just a ton of things. But you know what? St. Louis is unique. It is a sports town. It loves its sports, right? St. Louis really tried to love the Rams, which was not hard in the 1999 season and really then winning the Super Bowl in January of 2000. That was easy to love them then. It became a little more difficult to love them later, before they went back to Los Angeles. This is a town who loves the blues, right? We do. We love the blues. When it comes to the Cardinals, I always tell my friends in California, we worship, in fact, the Cardinals. Now, that's not totally true, but that's a little bit true, right? But it's really fun to be back in St. Louis and to be kind of rooting for the Cardinals again. And yeah, we got to hang in there and keep rooting for them because it's been an up and down season. We're climbing our way out of the doldrums that we kind of created for ourselves. But let's hang in there. Let's see what happens with this season. Let's stick with the Cardinals, okay? This week we're starting a new series. Last week we wrapped up a series on the 7 churches in Revelation. And you guys, I just want to wrap it up with saying how important I think those messages are, those letters to those churches, is God unfolds in the book of Revelation what is going to happen. As we look at the world and where it's headed and what's happening, a biblical, a Judeo-Christian worldview understands that it is linear in nature, that God is doing something and He is building and unfolding His plan and His will in the midst of all the rebellion that the world has to offer and all the sin and rejection of God. He is still in charge and He is unfolding a plan. And the Bible describes that there is a destiny to history and that it will come to an end. And He will return. Jesus is going to return, and He will kind of reckon what has happened. And we wonder, is that now, or is it still in the future? We don't know for sure, but we want to be aware and have our eyes wide open and our heads on a swivel, understanding our times and what's going on. But before all of that, I think He wrote these letters to these 7 churches to commend them for certain things, but to confront them on other things. And to say, you've kind of lost track, right? And there were such important things. But one of the most important things that he says in all of those letters is, one is for he who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit is saying to the churches. Meaning, do you have ears to hear, to comprehend and to understand and respond to what God is saying? And I think we need to do that even in our day for sure. And there were so many things in those letters to those 7 churches that we could relate to and kind of question about ourselves and wonder and respond to. And one of the most common things he says in those letters is to repent, to turn away from where we've been headed that was really wrong and really respond to Him and be obedient to Him and to love Him as our first love, like he said to the church in Ephesus. Okay? So, as we wrap that up, we don't want to just leave it behind, but we want to hold on to it and take it seriously and respond and continue considering what God is saying, not only to them, but to us. Okay? Now, this week, we're going to start a new series, and it's going to be a series in the book of the Gospel of Matthew. Now, we've been doing Matthew for a long time, but we do it for a purpose. And we want to try to take some breaks so we can address some other things, but come back to it. And here's the reason why. The Gospel of Matthew was written for the purpose of being a handbook for discipleship. And discipleship not being some sort of a class to go to or boxes to check, but it's a person to follow, a person to love, a person to be obedient to. It is our love relationship with Christ, to be a follower of him. And we always say a surrendered follower of a glorious, incredible, amazingly beautiful Christ. That we would be his followers, his people, obedient to him, because he loves us so incredibly much. And so that's what the Gospel of Matthew is all about, is a handbook for what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus. Okay, so we're going to pick that up again here in chapters 21 and 22 for the next little while here during the summer. And we want to challenge ourselves to really hear and respond, just like the letters in Revelation. He wanted them to respond as followers of Christ, to be commended for certain things and be confronted with others, and to repent and to have ears to hear. Same thing goes for the Gospel of Matthew. We could say, do we have ears to hear what he's saying to us as followers of Christ? I think it's going to be a really fun summer. It's kind of started today, right? Schools are out. It's warm. It's hot. The grass is growing. Now it's starting to dry out because not much rain in the last couple of weeks. But we're ready for this season. And so let's not only kind of engage individually, but let's engage together. And let's engage with each other. Okay? So I think God is on the move. He always is. We just have to say, God, move in our midst. May we respond and be obedient. Okay? All right. I love you guys. Be well. See you soon. You're awesome. See ya.